Muslims have been taught that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. The Quran states that it's been revealed in Arabic for Muslim understanding. The Quran also states that it's a religion which has been perfected. And if this is the case, why does Shabir Ally say Muslims don't understand the Quran? Hi, I'm Raymond Douglas and welcome to My Man Cave. The Inside Out perspective takes a look at life's challenges and its effects and asks one simple question: what race are you running? Good day and welcome to another episode of the Inside Out perspective. I want to ask you guys out there to give me your comment, and I would like to know, should I have background music to the episodes like you hear at the moment, or without the background music like you're going to see in the rest of the episode? Please comment and let me know. Over the past month or so, there's been a lot of debate and a lot of new evidence coming out from the likes of Dan Burbaker, etc., with regard to the preservation of the Quran. So let's just quickly confirm what the Islamic Standard is with regard to the transmission of the Quran.
Every Quran from then until today has been exactly the same, and every Hafidh of the Quran has learned the exact same book by heart. That is a 1400-year mutawatir chain of people who learned the same book from their teachers and taught the same book to their students, which is why until this very day we can open up a copy of the Quran and know with confidence that this is the same special book that was taught by the Prophet
Muslims are always happy and proud of the fact that their book is the only preserved book of the scriptures of God.
Now, a few days ago, Shabir Ally, Dr Shabir Ally, had an interview on Consider This TV with Kenny Bowman. And it was very interesting which came out in this interview. I just want to tackle one insert which I found extremely interesting, which I think needs to be discussed. So let's have a look at his first statement.
Muslims in general, they have a misunderstanding of the Quran.
This is an absolute shocker to me, because if I take that comment and I relate it to Christian terms, and I heard my minister or a senior in the church or the country's head or even the Pope turn around and say, sorry, you on the ground, on the grassroots level, you average Christian, you do not understand John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that you may not perish. What? Imagine being told that you misunderstand a basic text like that. But it gets worse.
We have that kind of assurance, which is given to us through all of this evidence that we're now surveying. And I want to say something about the desperate attempts that you refer to. You see, there are two areas of activity here. One is academic, the academic sphere, and the other is the missionary sphere. Now, in the academic sphere, there is a lot of respect for the Quran as a book which has been preserved in contradistinction to others which have not been preserved in history. So many academic scholars respect the Quran as a book that is as pure as you can expect from a book that would have been transmitted over the ages.
Every single student of knowledge knows, who studies Ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are ahruf al-qira'at. That when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out, and you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba.
So notice here what both Shabir Ally and Dr Shabir Ally are saying. They are saying that the understanding of the Islamic faith is for the scholars. And even on a scholarly level, a basic scholarly level, that they're just told to regurgitate the tradition. There's no understanding there. And when you do a deep dive, They're even more confused about the transmission and how to recite the Quran, etc. And that's quite a shocker.
And we've all been subjected to this because, you know, at some point or another, we have been told the Quran is totally perfect as we have it now, dot for dot, letter for letter, everything is in place, preserved as it was. So that at one time, even I thought that the Tashkent manuscript and the top copy Sarai manuscript of the Quran, that these codexes are exactly as we have it now, because that's what we have been told, and we didn't have the acumen to investigate all of it.
Did you hear that? Dr. Shabir Ally is saying that he did not know there were errors in the Topeka manuscript. He's only been told recently. What? There's a scholar, a world-renowned debater, a person who's been teaching Muslims on the mass about the Quran, its transmission, its perfection. And he's now all of a sudden going, I never knew. How can you not know the basic fundamentals of your faith? I mean, if the Quran says it's revealed in Arabic for your understanding, and an Arabic speaker like Dr. Shabir Ally doesn't have the acronym, in other words, the tools and the go-to stuff to understand the Arabic of the manuscripts. It doesn't make sense.
But it's a later investigation, and sometimes through the work of missionaries, they have pointed out to us that no, it is not so. Like the Tashkent copy is not a complete copy of the Quran, neither is the top copy Sarai, and in any case, they don't correspond exactly, precisely 100% to what we are reciting today.
And why doesn't it not make sense? Listen to what he's just said. It's only because of the Christian missionaries coming up with this evidence that it's come to light. In other words, he's confirming he's been taught a lie his whole life. And that same lie has been taught to you, the average Muslim in the street, that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. That's an absolute lie. But what does the Quran also tell you? The Quran tells you in Surah 1094 that if you're in doubt, to go and ask the Christians and Jews. Why? Because they have the religion of truth. They have the book. They have the real scripture. Go and ask them. And the second point I want you to make here is stop fighting. Stop fighting the lie which you've been taught. Listen to what the Christians and Jews are telling you. Listen when we say to you, your Quran is not perfect. Go and do the homework. You know, I posted a video the other day, and I send a link. It's an Islam group called Learn Islam. And if I make that post, it goes through within a minute. There's one guy in that group who responds to me answering that video. And I question, how on earth could he even have interacted with the contents of the video I've just released? So he takes the topic subject and he comments on that. And this is the point. Muslims out there, do yourself a favor. Go and interact with the evidence. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Jay Smith. Go and do the homework yourself. Go and have a look. And I'm asking you, just go and have a look. Because when Hatun Tash comes out with her 26 and then 30, then 33, now apparently 37 different versions of the Hafs Quran, that is the 1924 edition of the Quran. The 1924 edition, that's only a couple of years ago. How many developments and changes has it gone through? Go and do the homework. Listen to what Shabir Ally is saying here. The scholar Dr Dan Burbaker, who knows the Arabic unlike Shabir Ally, who can read classical Arabic, whose understanding he's made it his life mission, comes up with 4,000 errors just in the manuscripts. At some point in time, we need to wake up and smell the coffee, so to say, and make a decision whether we're going to follow the lie you've been taught or actually look at the truth and follow the truth. And in doing that, listen to this statement of Dr. Shabir Ally, the Befuddled statement.
Now, so they're using that information to befuddle the average Muslim. It's only on further investigation that we realize, yeah, we don't really say as a matter of faith that I believe in the Tashkent copy of the Quran. Like, that's not a Muslim article of faith. When I say amantu billahi wa malaikati wa kutubihi, I believe in God and his angels and his messengers and his books.
He's saying, forget about all the different errors and the different translations, and whether the guys in Morocco who recite the Quran and got a different Quran than the guys in Pakistan to the guys in India. That doesn't matter, because it doesn't affect the statement of faith. You've got 6 articles of faith and it doesn't affect it. But absolutely it does. What is the first article of faith? Believe in one God and only one God, or believe in Allah as only one God. There's a God, doesn't have partners, doesn't have... Great. But then ask yourself the question, why did Allah need to get inserted into the manuscript evidence 9 times just in one manuscript? Did they forget the name of the God which you're worshipping, that they had to put it in after it was written? And then let's have a look at the second statement of faith. Believe in all the books written by Allah. Now we know there's only one book which is claimed to be written by Allah, because we know the Bible is written by man, not by God, not by Allah. It's written by Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, Isaiah, Moses. Those are the authors of the book, not God. They authored those books under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, which is not a tenet of the Islamic faith. So there is only one book, the Quran, written by Allah. And if the Quranic evidence is coming out that it is not perfectly preserved, as claimed in the Quran, as claimed by Shabir Ally, surely at some point in time you need to ask the question, what lie am I following? Can I actually trust the scholars which are telling me this? Hullabaloo. So let's just go back and have a look at the beginning of this interview with Kenny Bowmer. Shabir Ally pulled out the fantastic Birmingham manuscript as evidence of the good or perfect or near perfect transmission of the Quran. And it absolutely floors me, because this is not even a full Quran. It's 33 verses out of your 6,236 verses in the Quran. He looks at 33 verses and he says, you see, I can read it exactly the same. And what evidence does he take? He takes the evidence, and have a look at this picture closely. He takes the Birmingham manuscript, makes strips of it, and then puts his insertion of the Arabic Quran underneath it. Now look at the difference. And I'm a lay person. I'm not a scholar. But these are the questions I would ask if someone presented to me the Gospel of John in Aramaic and then another script underneath it and said this is perfect. Have a look. First of all, there's no vowel marks or diacritical marks in the original text. So how does he know what he's reading? Who did that translation by putting the diacritical markers and the vowels in place? And then the third thing I have a look at is look at the spaces. You're comparing Arabic with Arabic here, and there's spaces and gaps in the lines and the sentence. What words is he missing out there? Or what words can he not translate? These are questions which you Muslims need to answer. Because at the end of the day, what does it do? It affects your eternity. So what I've done, what I'd like you to have a look at, is have a look at the evidence and how it's changed. This is a summary of what has basically happened in the last month with regard to the perfect preservation of the Quran. And please note, these are not my comments, these are Islamic scholars making the comments and the statements.